Let me set my timer here so I don't have the danger of permanently boring you. His name was James Madison, and he was responsible for what we call the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. They've become very popular, especially number 1 and number 2. Number 1, what we call the freedom of speech. And number 2, which we call owning a gun. The right to bear arms. Number 1 gives you freedom of speech. Number 2 gives you the right to bear arms. And Madison inserts 2 words, one in each one of the amendments. In the word that comes up in the first one, which is the freedom of speech, he says, and this right shall not be abridged. And in the right to bear arms, he says, it shall not be infringed upon. Now, you're smart people. You know what abridged means. That means shortened or made less, or an infringed means to be interfered with. So here's my point. We sure have interfered with guns. We've infringed. I don't think I'm going NRA on you or anything. I'm just saying, if you want to be legitimate, there are gun laws. You can't go down to Walmart and buy an AK-47 right next to your beets and your tomatoes. There are gun laws. There are restrictions, and there are more to come. There are background checks to come. These are things we've decided to do to ignore the idea of not infringing on this right. Why have we done that? Because it is good for people. You can't make rules that ultimately are not good for people. You can't come along and say, everybody can own a gun, go out and party and bring them to church. And it's not good for people. So we've come along like intelligent people, like intelligent individuals, and we said, let's infringe on this a little bit. But you know what's interesting? We've never come along and tried to abridge freedom of speech. We say, whatever anybody wants to say, you can't stop them. That's just the way it is. You can't stop me. Well, if it's not good for people, it needs to be abridged. And we're in a season right now where certain things are not good for people. Just because we have an internet and you can write almost anything you want to, doesn't mean that we should, or even that we should be given permission to do so. As we have come along and infringed on the Second Amendment by making laws about guns, we have to come along and abridge freedom of speech because it's hurting people. And when people get hurt, it doesn't matter how noble you think your cause may be, or how you want to be able to stand up and say, yeah, but I'll fight for your right to speak. I'm not going to fight for your right to say shit. If you're going to say shit, I'm not going to fight for your right to say it. What a stupid thing to say. We need things that exhort, things that edify. There is even a verse in the Bible that says, let everything be done to the edification of all. No kidding. We need words to come out to heal, not words that make us go, well, gee whiz, that hurt. Why'd you say that? Okay, but I'll fight for your right to say it. No, I'm tired of fighting for your right to say shit. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to participate. So this is where we're looking at this problem. As we've discussed over the past few days about racism, now we're going to talk about freedom of speech and a right to bear arms, where we're not supposed to abridge the freedom of speech, according to Mr. Madison. But Mr. Madison didn't live in an era where words start coming out like bullets, because they're so easy to write down, so easy to send over the internet. He wasn't living in that era. He was living in an era of quill pens. Yeah, that's enough for today, don't you think? That's why we'll let the bell ring. See you tomorrow.